Combs. And he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
For years, Sean Diddy Combs has been keeping folks who witnessed his alleged dirt silent, using straight-up threats and fear to make sure they stay quiet. But now the streets are talking. Months after that jaw-dropping footage went viral, Diddy's trial just took a wild left turn. Word on the street is Cassie's own brother is stepping up to testify, and what he's ready to reveal might blow the lid off everything Diddy tried to keep hidden during Cassie's decade under his control. This might just be the testimony that flips the whole case. Let's get into it. The case that got the whole hood talking. In the heart of Manhattan, a trial is popping off that could forever change the game in the entertainment industry. Sean Diddy Combs, once the top dog in hip-hop who went from rapper to straight boss, now finds himself caught up in what prosecutors are calling a criminal enterprise spanning decades. As jury selection kicked off on May 5th, 2025, with opening statements set for May 12th, everyone's glued to a case that's about to expose all the skeletons in the closet where celebrity and power meet. The charges against Combs are mad serious. Trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. These allegations didn't just pop up overnight, but represent years of whispers that finally caught fire after one crucial lawsuit dropped in November 2023. That lawsuit came from R&B singer Cassie Ventura, whose decade-long relationship with Combs is now center stage in a prosecution that could potentially have the music mogul locked up for life. What makes this case extra spicy isn't just who's on trial, but the straight-up receipts that have already hit the streets. In May 2024, everybody was shocked when surveillance footage leaked showing Combs physically assaulting Ventura in a Los Angeles hotel hallway back in 2016. The video, which shows Combs violently pressing Ventura, grabbing her, throwing her to the ground, kicking her while she's down, and dragging her back to a hotel room, had social media on fire and the culture in shambles. This damning evidence will be shown to the jury and stands as visual proof of what prosecutors say was a long-standing pattern of abuse, intimidation, and exploitation. Combs' legal troubles came at him fast with his arrest in September 2024, followed by a federal indictment unsealed on September 17, 2024, a superseding indictment filed on January 30, 2025, and more charges piled on in April 2025 have painted an increasingly disturbing picture of alleged systematic abuse spanning nearly a decade from 2009 to 2018. At the center of these allegations are what prosecutors have termed freak-offs, wild sexual performances allegedly directed by Combs involving coerced commercial acts. According to court documents, these events sometimes went on for days, involved excessive drug use to keep victims compliant, and were often recorded without consent. As U.S. Attorney Damian Williams put it in the realest terms,
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
The indictment details not only these organized events, but also allegations of physical violence, including hitting, choking, pushing, and in one instance, dangling a victim over an apartment balcony. Combs allegedly used his clout and influence to maintain control through various forms of coercion, from threatening careers to straight-up blackmail. What started with Ventura's lawsuit has turned into an avalanche, with Combs now facing over 70 sexual assault lawsuits alleging decades of abuse. The sheer number of accusations and how graphic they are have even the most seasoned observers of celebrity drama saying how wild everything is. Among these accusers are both women and men, some who were allegedly minors when it all went down. The scale of these allegations points to something much bigger than a few isolated incidents. They suggest what prosecutors describe as a systematic operation enabled by Combs' major bag, power, and connections in the entertainment industry. The indictment alleges that Combs ran a criminal enterprise through his multimedia empire, including Bad Boy Entertainment to facilitate trafficking, and other illegal activities. What makes this case particularly significant is that Cassie Ventura, identified as Victim 1 in the indictment, is expected to testify under her government name. Ventura's civil lawsuit, which accused Combs of rape, trafficking, and physical abuse over their decade-long relationship that began when she was just 19 and signed to his Bad Boy Records label, was settled out of court the day after it dropped. However, the damage was done. Her courage in stepping up appears to have opened the floodgates for dozens of other accusers and prompted the federal investigation that led to Combs getting booked. As we dig deeper into this case, we gotta remember that behind the headlines are real people who claim to have suffered tremendous trauma. The trial, expected to run for months, will bring testimony from at least least 4 accusers, with Ventura as the only one identified to the public so far. One key witness might be Dawn Richard, a former member of Combs' musical groups Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, who filed a lawsuit claiming she witnessed Combs put hands on Ventura. The legal proceedings have already got social media going crazy, with platforms like X blowing up with speculation, memes, and debates about the case. A whole lot of people showed support for Cassie, while others questioned how someone could allegedly move like this for decades without consequences. To answer this, theories are everywhere online. Some comments suggest Combs' deep connections with powerful people might even help him beat the case. Names like Christina Coram, Combs' former chief of staff, have come up in civil suits for allegedly helping cover up his actions, though she hasn't faced criminal charges. The trial has also raised questions about who else might be caught up in this web of alleged misconduct. Prosecutors have provided jurors with a list of celebrities' names that might come up during proceedings, including Usher, Justin Bieber, and Jay-Z, though no direct involvement has been confirmed for these individuals. Just the mention of these names with the case has fueled wild speculation online, though it's important to remember that being on such a list doesn't mean they did anything wrong. Speaking of Justin Bieber, his 2022 interview with Zane Lowe has resurfaced with all this Diddy drama, where he spoke about the trauma of being young in the music industry.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they loved me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
This case is bigger than just one celebrity trial. It's become a check on power dynamics in the entertainment industry and how money and influence can potentially shield individuals from being held accountable. As we continue to follow these proceedings, it's essential to approach the subject with the seriousness it deserves, recognizing the profound suffering alleged by the accusers, while also respecting the legal process that presumes innocence until proven guilty. The Ventura testimony. As Sean Diddy Combs' trial pops off in Manhattan, all eyes been locked on Cassie Ventura, tagged as Victim 1 in the federal indictment, and the main chick in the case against the hip-hop mogul. Her move to drop that lawsuit in November 2023 is what finally got the feds on Diddy's trail, leading to his arrest and these court proceedings everybody talking about. But behind all the headlines and tweets is a deeper story, one about a family that might be torn apart by years of alleged abuse, and now caught up in this pursuit of justice. Born Cassandra Elizabeth Ventura on August 26, 1986, in New London, Connecticut, Cassie comes from a mixed heritage, feel me? The streets know she was born to a Filipino pops and a mama with African-American, Mexican, and West Indian roots. While Shorty built her own lane as a singer, model, and actress, her family business stayed on the low. That is, until these explosive allegations against Diddy dragged not just her, but her whole fam into a spotlight they never asked for. The situation between Cassie and Diddy kicked off when she was just 19 and fresh ink on his Bad Boy Records contract. What followed, according to her paperwork, was a whole decade of control, manipulation, and straight-up abuse. The power dynamic was mad obvious from the jump, a teenage rookie to the game getting linked with one of music's biggest ballers, nearly 2 decades older than her. This imbalance would supposedly be used against her repeatedly as the years went by. That surveillance footage from 2016 showing Diddy putting hands on Cassie in a hotel hallway is straight receipts of at least one time when that abuse she talked about actually went down. This video shows Diddy grabbing Cassie by the neck, throwing her to the floor, kicking her while she's down bad, and dragging her back to a hotel room. These receipts back up everything in her lawsuit, and the jury's gonna see all of it during the trial. The impact of Diddy's alleged abuse and all the legal drama that followed on Cassie's family ain't been widely documented, but it don't take a genius to imagine how deep it would cut parents, siblings, and other loved ones. Finding out your daughter or sister allegedly caught hands for years would mess up any family for real. Then add the fact that it's all over social media and the blogs, involving one of the industry's biggest shot callers, and the stress becomes crazy heavy. Word on the street is that family members might step to the stand to speak on what they witnessed or knew about what was happening between Cassie and Diddy. The trauma from abuse hardly ever just hits the main victim. Family members often catch what the head shrinkers call secondary trauma, that emotional damage from hearing about or seeing the traumatic experiences happening to someone you love. For Cassie's people, finding out about the alleged years of abuse and then possibly getting pulled into a high-profile federal case would no doubt take a serious toll on the mental. Adding another layer to this whole situation is how Diddy settled Cassie's civil lawsuit just one day after she filed it. While nobody knows what the bag looked like, how quick he settled had everybody side-eyeing, thinking Diddy was trying to keep the case from hitting discovery, where even more dirt might have come to light. Despite the settlement, the lawsuit did what it was probably supposed to do: put the allegations on Front Street and give other victims the courage to speak their truth. The federal indictment against Diddy claims he used used all types of methods to control his victims, including violence, threats, and career leverage. In Cassie's situation, what started as a professional relationship quickly got personal, making it even harder for her to bounce from the situation. The federal case against Diddy includes allegations that he orchestrated what he called freak-offs, wild, sexual performances that he allegedly arranged, directed, and recorded, often without victims knowing they were being taped.
You're gonna hear about my party, they're gonna be shutting them down, they're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time.
Prosecutors say these events involved handing out narcotics, including K, X, and GHB, to keep victims in line and compliant, plus the use of physical violence, threats, and blackmail to make sure everybody stayed quiet.
The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant.
When the feds ran up in Diddy's Los Angeles and Miami cribs in March 2024, they seized mad evidence allegedly connected to these events, including over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lube, drugs, and electronic devices, with videos of the freak-offs. The indictment also breaks down how Diddy's crew supposedly handled all the logistics, booking hotel suites, arranging travel, and providing IV fluids to victims to recover from the physical toll of these events. As the trial keeps moving, we expect to hear Cassie herself take the stand, possibly shedding light not just on her own experiences, but on how the alleged abuse messed with her relationships with family and loved ones. While we don't have confirmed info about exactly what role her family members might play in the trial, their potential involvement shows how abuse affects way more people than just the direct victim. The courage it takes for any survivor of abuse to step up is major facts, especially when the alleged abuser is someone with the bag, power, and connections, like Diddy. For Cassie and potentially her fam, the decision to participate in this federal case represents not just fighting for personal justice, but potentially contributing to a bigger wake-up call within an industry that's been allowing power imbalances and alleged exploitation for way too long. The industry implications: who knew what and when? As Diddy's trial goes down in Manhattan, mad shockwaves are hitting the entertainment game. Beyond the specific charges against Puff lies a more real question. How could someone allegedly run these streets for decades without getting caught up? This question has the internet buzzing about who might have been in the cut knowing what was good, whether other industry folks were riding shotgun, and why it took so long for these accusations to finally land him in the system. The indictment claims Diddy was running a whole operation through his empire, including Bad Boy Entertainment, to facilitate trafficking and other illegal moves. This angle suggests the alleged dirt wasn't just one man's hustle, but potentially involved a network of yes men and enablers. For real, prosecutors say Diddy's deep connections in the industry helped keep his name clean in these streets, which explains why he stayed eating without consequences. Several key players have been named as potentially having hands in this alleged crew. Christina Coram, Puff's former right hand, has been called out in at least 3 civil suits for allegedly helping keep his business on the low, though she hasn't caught any charges yet. The indictment also claims Diddy's team was helping facilitate his dirt, and some caught fade from his rage.
He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
The DA hit the jury with a list of big names that might pop up during the trial, including Usher, Justin Bieber, and Jay-Z, though nobody's saying these cats were directly involved. Just seeing these names on the list has social media going crazy, but keep it a buck. Being on the list doesn't mean they were doing anything shady. These names could come up for completely innocent reasons. The Bieber connection has been getting mad attention after that old footage resurfaced showing Diddy checking Bieber about speaking on their relationship on national TV.
And he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
Young Bieber's 2022 interview, where he got in his feelings about the struggle of being a young artist, also had people talking. In that same sit-down, Bieber gets emotional talking about wanting to keep Billie Eilish from going through what he experienced.
I just wanted to be a good example, and it was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and just turn their back on you in a second.
When discussing Eilish, he added,
I just want to protect her, I don't want her to go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody.
While Bieber ain't specifically calling out Diddy in this interview, his reaction when talking about what young artists face has the streets talking about his experiences. But let's keep it 100. Bieber isn't focused on the allegations against Diddy and is instead on his family grind. The case has also got people questioning how the music industry let this slide. How could someone with Diddy's clout allegedly move like this for so long without consequences? Several theories are floating around the block to explain this apparent immunity, though we gotta approach these with side-eye since they're mostly just internet talk. One theory suggests that Diddy had the receipts on big-time players, politicians, celebrities, and industry execs, getting loose at his functions. These tapes supposedly gave him leverage to stay out of cuffs, since exposing them could bring down powerful folks. This theory caught fire when Gene Deal, Diddy's former security, spilled tea on a podcast, saying Diddy had footage of politicians, princes, and preachers at his gatherings.
Do you think it's any celebrities on them tapes?
Bro, he gave celebrity parties. So what you think? You know, I think they're not telling the whole truth.
Another theory claims Diddy was untouchable because of his political connects and his pull in getting voters to the polls. Former NBA baller Kwame Brown suggested that Puff's ties to politicians and his role in mobilizing the vote kept him protected for decades. But like the other talk, this is just speculation without solid proof. What seems clear, no cap, is that Diddy's bread, power, and industry connections created a situation where alleged victims felt they couldn't speak up. The indictment breaks down how Diddy allegedly controlled victims with paper, drugs, and threats to their careers, creating an environment of fear. For young artists or industry folks depending on Diddy for their come-up, the risk of speaking out would have been too real. The case against Puff has also put the spotlight on a culture of silence in the entertainment world. Ray J claimed in a doc that high-profile celebrities were paying off victims to keep quiet, suggesting a system designed to shield the powerful at the expense of victims. Speaking on this issue, he stated,
"But for the regular world, somebody has the truth, somebody pays you to keep it quiet, and hopefully that money that you got paid secures your happiness while you watch the lie continue to succeed."
Beyond the specific allegations against Diddy, the case raises deep questions about power, accountability, and the structures that potentially let abuse go unchecked in the entertainment game. If the allegations against Diddy turn out to be facts, they would suggest not just one man's wrongdoing, but a systematic failure to protect vulnerable individuals from exploitation. The indictment further alleges that Diddy tried to influence witnesses by having family members reach out to victims and create favorable stories. He also reportedly orchestrated a social media video featuring his kids to sway potential jurors, showing he was still trying to leverage relationships and influence to duck accountability. Another disturbing aspect involves allegations against Christian King Combs, Diddy's son, who was reported to have been groomed by his father. In April 2024, Grace O'Marquet, a 25-year-old woman who worked as a steward on a luxury yacht chartered by the Combs family, filed a lawsuit claiming that Christian sexually assaulted her during a family trip in late 2022. The lawsuit also accuses Christian of riding with his father in a broader pattern of misconduct. While these allegations still need to be proven in court, they suggest the possibility of a family dynamic that normalized or enabled concerning behavior. Another lawsuit by April Lampro alleged battery and sexual assault. A particularly disturbing claim involves a 13-year-old girl who alleges she was assaulted at an after-party following the 2000 Video Music Awards by Jay-Z and Diddy. The scope and seriousness of these allegations suggest not just isolated incidents, but potentially a systematic pattern of abuse over many years. As the trial keeps rolling, we might learn more about who in the industry knew what was good and whether anyone tried to check the situation. The testimony of people like Dawn Richard, who filed a lawsuit claiming she witnessed Diddy put hands on Ventura, could be particularly revealing. As a former member of Diddy's musical groups, Richard was in the inner circle and might shed light on what others might have known or seen. The bigger implications of this case for the entertainment industry are major. If someone with Diddy's profile could allegedly move like this for decades without consequences, what does that say about industry structures and power dynamics? What responsibility do labels, agencies, and other industry entities have in making sure artists and employees stay safe? And what changes might be necessary to prevent similar situations from popping off in the future? These questions go beyond the specific charges against Diddy to touch on fundamental issues of power, accountability, and ethics within the entertainment industry. As the trial unfolds, it may force not just a legal reckoning for one individual, but a moral and ethical reckoning for an entire industry. The defense strategy Diddy's legal team is running offers some insight into how these allegations have been framed and contested. Diddy's attorneys, led by Mark Agnifilo, argue that the sexual activities described were consensual and that Diddy is being unfairly targeted. They've tried unsuccessfully to keep out the 2016 video of Diddy assaulting Cassie Ventura and have raised concerns about juror bias due to media coverage. This approach, focusing on consent and trying to minimize or contextualize documented instances of violence, reflects a broader pattern often seen in cases involving powerful figures accused of abuse. It puts the burden on alleged victims to prove not just that events went down, but that they went down without consent and under pressure. As we continue to follow this case, it's essential to keep it a buck with both critical thinking and empathy. The allegations against Diddy are serious and, if proven, represent not just individual wrongdoing, but potentially a systemic failure to protect vulnerable individuals from exploitation. At the same time, our legal system presumes innocence until guilt is proven. What seems clear, though, is that regardless of the outcome of this specific case, the entertainment industry is facing a moment of truth. The questions raised about power, accountability, who knew what and when, extend far beyond one individual to touch on fundamental issues of ethics, responsibility, and the structures that potentially enable abuse. As the trial unfolds in Manhattan, with opening statements scheduled for May 12, 2025, the world will be watching not just for the verdict, but for what it reveals about the darker corners of an industry that has for too long operated with limited transparency and accountability. The testimony of key witnesses, including Cassie Ventura herself, may prove crucial not just in determining Diddy's legal fate, but in forcing a broader conversation about power, abuse, and responsibility in the entertainment industry. If you enjoyed this video, click on any of the cards on your screen for similar content.